Welcome back to part two, to the second half of our conference. Earlier we were talking about restoring the dream with Dr. Alveda King and Nigel Ennis. Now we're going to talk about changing the game. Changing the game comes in a whole lot of different fashions. Some of you, most of you, probably out there right now. How many of you listen to hip hop? How many of you out there have a social media account, Twitter, Facebook? How many of you have Instagram? Pinterest. Pencil and paper. Where we are missing out as a people, I'm not going to just say a party, but as a people, is that our younger generation, millennials, are using these things to communicate, to share stories, to share themselves, to express themselves. And if you look at some of the establishment on our side, they haven't embraced it yet. They will say that they have, or they're saying they're doing some outreach for it. But it's not working. If you talk to some millennials on the street right now, as a matter of fact, I read some stats where most millennials are independent. Most young kids are independent these days, but they tend to vote Democrat. Why is it? It's because our message is being given by the wrong people. Instead of embracing, they are just letting it go. Sonnie Johnson and I, a couple of months ago, went up to Connecticut, and we were part of a panel. And we talked on hip-hop culture, and we also talked on the social media front. Both are very important in reaching out to millennials and young people to be part of the political process. And they're very important because they are our future. No matter, now, we have seen things on TV, believe me, of disrespect to adults, disrespect to law enforcement. And that's not going to go away until we learn how to communicate and be passionate about it. But to communicate with young people and let them know that we understand where they're coming from and have a dialogue. We have to have a dialogue with these young people. Somebody had a dialogue with you. You have to have a dialogue with these young people. Now, Sonnie Johnson is the founder and CEO of Change the Game. You can check it out on the internet, ctghq.org. Change the Game headquarters.org. ctghq.org. Before everybody leaves here today, please go and check it out and join the mailing list. There's a lot of information that goes on that website. We're going to get to some things, but I want to introduce my sister. And I love her to death, believe me. I love her to death. I met her about 2 years ago at Log Bash in D.C., and we have built up our family relationship over the years. And there are only a few people that you really trust that you can speak to and they understand what you're saying when your mouth is closed. You understand what I'm saying? Sonnie is one of those people to me. So, Sonnie, welcome to MD Can Returning the Ties 2015.
Thank you. And I absolutely adore Wayne, so you guys are so very lucky to have him. All he had to do was ask me could I be here, and I told him yes, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I guess I hate kind of going into like the whole backstory of everything, but I guess that's where I'm going to start today. I've been in the conservative movement for about 4 years now. When I first started, I young and impressionable, kind of knew all my principles, kind of knew where I stood, but didn't know where I fit in. Follow me, you know, I was in front of the Capitol, auditing the IRS. I've been protesting along Tea Party Patriots and all the other groups for against Obamacare. I have been all over this country talking about conservative principles. Well, a couple of years ago, I was about to quit because I was running around yelling this phrase that most conservatives didn't want to hear. It kind of sounded like Black Lives Matter. Because I was running around saying we're killing ourselves and we need to figure out a way to stop. But it wasn't a conversation conservatives were particularly eager to have. So, how do you fight when the people who are on your side won't stand beside you, even though you stood beside them on all of their issues? That was my question. How could I do this? Because those things that are most hurting and destroying and destructive in my community are not conversations that are had in the conservative circle. So how can I keep doing this? And I met this man who said, you are a voice that needs to be heard. Everybody listened to his voice. Everybody wanted to hear what he had to say. And he looked at me and said, we need to hear from you. His name was Andrew Breitbart. Andrew had a tenet of more voices. He found us, he sought us out, and he made us feel larger than life. He made us feel like we had a place in this movement. And because of Andrew, I made up a decision. When I introduced him at CPAC that year, I made a decision. I said, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it my way. If Andrew can put on stretch pants and go down the street in rollerblades, I can do this my way. And a couple of weeks later, he was gone. And all of us in the conservative movement, all of us especially affected by Andrew, were left with one question. What's next? We were all shouting war. We were all shouting and what? We were all using the hashtags and the narratives that he had left with us. But a lot of us in the movement forgot what he stood for. More voices. That's what he was about. He made his voice louder so that when it was time for him to shut up, he can bring more voices in. At CPAC that year, they asked him, we want you to come and speak. And he said, I want Sonnie Johnson to introduce me. And they said, well, we can get this person, and we can get that person, and we can get this one, all with bigger names than me. And he said, if Sonnie isn't there, then I'm not going to be there. So he forced them into a position by the weight of his voice to let other voices in. And for that exact reason, I have not shut up since. And that's the part of Andrew that I carry around with me everywhere. Now the secondary part is truth. It's speaking those things that people don't necessarily want to hear, but there are things that need to be said, that need to be heard, especially amongst us. Because this is your army. This is your army. And if you see a weak spot in your army, if you see a weak link in your chain, the first instinct you should be to fix that link. It should be to go after your weakest spot and fix it. As conservatives, what is our weakest spot? Is there something wrong with our principles? No. Principles sound good. Our platform? We got some wonderful people. So what is our weak spot? What is our link? That's it. And I hate this word, diversity. Because with me and Wayne, we're diversity. Not because we're black. Wayne takes it from a totally different angle than the angle that I take it from. Wayne does not persist to talk about hip hop because he is not a fan of hip hop. I am. When he has some of his music that he tends to play, I kind of really, but that doesn't stop us from understanding what we have in common. And it doesn't stop us from understanding who we face, what we face, and what is coming up in this next ballot. Now, right now, because of what happened in Paris, the events of the last couple of months have been pushed from the news screen. So you don't hear about Ferguson anymore. You don't hear about New York anymore. You don't hear about the protests. You don't hear about it anymore. It didn't stop. It didn't stop. And what's worse is they're resetting and reorganizing. Do not get it twisted. This is not some new group that just popped up. About 2 or 3 years ago, they were in tents calling themselves Occupy. And now they move to where the news cameras move. And our problem is we move with them. So if they say, look at Trayvon Martin, we start talking about Trayvon Martin. If they say, look at Mike Brown, we start talking about Mike Brown. If they say, look at Eric Garner, we start talking about Eric Garner. If they say, look at Tamir Rice, we start talking about Tamir Rice. The problem is, we wait till they're dead. We have the platform of life. We have the platform of growth. We have the platform of self-protection and individuality. We have the platform that stops the death. But we're so busy chasing after them, we never let the world see our platform. We never let them see our ideas. We never let them see what we stand for because we're too busy saying we're not racist, we're not sexist, we're not Islamophobic, we're not this, we're not that. Well, what are we? You can tell me everything we are not. But what are we? And this is where my hip-hop comes in. And I like to make this point, okay? Because I talk in hip-hop terms, every single principle that I bring out in hip-hop, test me. I can back it biblically. I choose to talk this way. I choose to make my analogies the way I choose to do them. I can go full-blown, nothing, straight Tea Party conservative if that's what I wanted. I'm not going to reach my community by doing that. I am not going to influence my culture by doing that. I am not going to change what is happening in the black community by forgetting who I am and where I came from. That community born and bred and raised me. Do you think more conservatives do not exist in that community? We are there. We understand poverty is not fun. our kids are not being taught in these inner schools. We call the ghetto the trap. That wasn't something outsiders came up with. That's what we named the ghetto. We called it a trap. We know better. But what is missing is, what do you stand for? What will I get if I take everything that I have ever known, dismiss it, and now follow you? Well, I'm not a racist. I'm not a sexist. You're not telling me anything. So how about this? You're the party of the rich. Yes, we are. It's fun having money. You're talking to people who live in poverty. Why are you afraid to tell them that there's a different way? We live in the Section 8 housing and it's so this and that. I live in a nice gated community. We have very low crime rates. Why are you ashamed to tell them that? There is a different way. A different America does exist. And it is about time we say, come and eat at our table. We got good food. We got nice structure. We got it. We're not going to give you the scraps that fall off of our table. We're not going to tell you to shut up and wait. We're not going to battle with this constituency group and that constituency group, and we'll get to you when we're ready. 25 years later, we're still not ready. 35 years later, we're still not ready. 45 years later, we're still not ready. And the black community is crumbling, and we have all the solutions.
Still singing, we shall overcome.
And marching in the streets. And it's time to say, there's a better, come and eat with us. All of those things you accuse us of, yes. Now come over here and partake in it.
We shouldn't, like Sonnie said, we shouldn't be ashamed. We shouldn't be ashamed. You might not have the riches in the bank, but you have richness within your family. Okay? But you shouldn't be ashamed to say that to people. If somebody comes up to you, oh, the Republican Party is racist. No, we're not racist. But we are real. We see what is happening in the world or in the nation, and we have a better solution. Would you like to talk about it? Now, don't waste your time if they don't want to talk about it. I mean, if they're going to stand and yell and argue, and you're giving them facts, and they just argue.
They do the Andrew, and?
Yeah.
When they call you a racist, you say, and?
What else?
You still haven't answered the question about school choice.
Yeah.
So I can be racist all day, but
Right.
your
Exactly.
kids still ain't getting an education. So like, at what point do you stop caring whether or not I like you, and you start caring whether or not your children are properly educated?
And remember, Democrats play, or liberals play, progressives play on emotion.
Yeah.
They play on emotion. The commercials that you see on TV, the reality show that you see, the movie that you see, they hit that emotional spirit, and they hold on to that person. I would probably sometime last year, somebody that I worked with, I won't call out their name, but they sent me a couple of videos to say that the outreach of the RNC was changing. We're going to reach out to minorities now, and the first video that I got didn't have a black person in there, didn't have an Asian person in there, and did not have a Latino person in there. And I sent it back, I was like, I'm not putting this out. Put some diversity in the video. Talk to the people that are doing the video. Tell them if you want to reach the minority community, put some people in there that reflect. You know, they sent me another video with a Latino this time. that was closely the color of a white person. Still no black, still no Asian. They did not get it. The message is being lost from the top. Your voice is important because you're on the ground. Your ears are to the ground. You walk every day. You see what's going on in the communities. You see the young people. You see the older people. And these are the people that make up your neighborhoods. These are the people, but the people in D.C., they don't see this. When's the last time you seen Nancy Pelosi in the hood?
No, but what I will say is if you go and you check Nancy Pelosi's Instagram account, she might not be in the hood, but she takes a lot of pictures with the rappers, and a lot of picters with the hip-hop stars, and a lot of pictures with people who are important to black culture.
Perception.
So they don't have to, we all know how progressives really feel about black people. They don't have to actually care. They can just show the perception. So you look at all of them, if you go to a Democrat conference, they have Hip-Hop 101 and politics, rap in the black community. These are panels that are being held at Democrat conventions.
Not only that, in between, if you watch the DNC convention on TV, in between the speakers, they got the rapping going on. They got the music that the young people are going to see and relate to, where we might have, Neil Sedaka or somebody. Am I wrong? Paul Anka, but you look at the conferences and you see the difference. And for us on the ground, it's not that hard. The change needs to happen, and the only way it's going to happen is if you open up your mouth and say, I want to see the change. If not, we'll take it over.
We will take it over.
We'll take it over.
Oh, don't trust and believe. We're going to take it over. It's a matter of getting those on our side to understand. Like, we're tired of losing.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so maybe we haven't been in the political movement for 25 years. Maybe we don't have your wealth of experience and all the knowledge that you have, but we also don't have your losing record.
Nope. Nope, we don't.
And I don't say it in a nasty way. I'm saying it as conservatives like it in truth. You lose. And then you don't even just lose to Democrats, you lose to Republicans. So it's a two-pronged, you're losing everywhere. I mean, don't you think it's time to say that this is enough? And I'm sorry, but good God, this is enough.
Yeah.
We are at the point now when Democrats can't stop us. We got social media. We have the people, we have the voice, we have the message, we have it all. It's just a matter, are we willing to put a concerted effort in and our own egos aside to realize maybe our issues don't have to be the first issue this time. Maybe we can look at bringing someone else in and looking at their issues. That increases our numbers. So when we want to go back and redress our issues, we have more numbers. Now we win.
I use the analogy, America is the boat. The boat is sinking. The person that's in charge of the boat right now is the Democrat Party. We're in the back, fighting over who's going to be the next captain. When the boat is sinking. I'm saying we can do it our way. They're saying they can do it their way. We're fighting. We're going back and forth the whole time the ship is sinking. So by the time we finally get somebody to run the ship, we ain't got no boat. How important is America to you? Is it important enough to turn off the TV and to talk to your neighbors and say, let's go to a community meeting? Let's go to these town halls. Let's go to these district meetings and take back these meetings. Because while a lot of people aren't going to these things, Democrats are going to these things. And they're putting forth measures that you don't know anything about. And it's controlling each and every county and district. We need to take back our position from the ground and fight upward. And just like Sonnie said, egos need to ego. There's no ego when we care about this country. The country is fake. The country's falling. We don't mind standing up. We don't mind talking. You call us whatever you want to. If it makes you feel good, put on some jelly slippers and wear whatever you want to wear and call us whatever you want. It's not going to shut us up. Because like she said, I'm tired of damn losing. The last person I voted for that won, I was a Democrat, was Bill Clinton. When was the last time somebody that you really wanted as president? Yeah.
We want Reagan in our lifetime. We're acting like, is that too much for us to ask that once in our lifetime we get a Reagan? We get someone that comes in and says no, and comes in and does the right thing, and is so principled that he can have the entire country following behind him instead of fighting each other? Can we in our lifetime get it? Because it's nice hearing y'all talk about it.
Oh, y'all can talk. I mean,
we don't know.
Talk is great.
We don't know the experience. We got, in order to save the free market, we first must destroy it. That was our Republican. Our Republican was, in order to save the free market, we must first destroy it.
You said abandon.
Abandon.
I'm just sorry.
Abandon is, it's the same thing. Look at it now. Now you got it in healthcare. Now you got it everywhere, and it's seeping everywhere. It is going everywhere. Where do we actually have free markets in America, or do we have crony capitalism? We have crony capitalism, and this is another thing, because we keep saying we want to conserve America. Do you want to conserve this America? No. Look at this America. Is this the America this is 100 years of progressivism America. Is this the America you want to save? Like, be a little bit more cautious with your words, because I had to go up against this where they're coming at me like, and you want to make sure we stay in Section 8 housing, you want to make sure we stay on? No. But if you're going to conserve the America that we have, that's what you're resigning these people to. So we have to make it clear that the America we see is the constitutional America that our founders promised to us. Not this more progressive legacy that we are now experiencing. We have to have words like of a Frederick Douglass that would say, if a black man can't stand on his own, then let him fall.
Yes, exactly.
Those are the things those are the America, that is the America that we want to see. That is the America we want to experience. That is the America that we're fighting for. But we cannot pretend like that is the America that we have now.
That's right.
Because it is not. And as long as we don't let them know that this is not what we're trying to conserve. We're not trying to conserve corporate welfare. We're not trying to conserve eco-green jobs. And we're not, no. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a right to your person, a right to your property, a right to a firearm to protect it all, a right to say, get out of my house because it's my house. Free speech, religion, those most basic concepts that are in our Constitution, those are the things that we want. But we can't get to talking about them because we're so busy trying to deprogram what progressivism has done to America. So we never get to our argument. We never get to our case.
Everybody's not going to change either. You know that, right? That's fine. everybody's not going to change. Just because you come with a message, everybody's not going to change. Harry Tubman said it the best. I freed 1,000 slaves. And I would have freed 1,000 more if they would have thought, if they were saw that they were slaves. You aren't going to change everybody. But that shouldn't stop your message. Like I told somebody a while ago, I was like, you know, your voice is the most powerful weapon on this planet. Not a gun, not a Uzi, your voice. Your voice starts wars and it ends wars. That's a powerful weapon. How many out there are married? It creates a marriage. How many out there divorced? No. And it will get you divorced. Your voice is the most powerful weapon in the world. And if you close your mouth and not express that you want to help this country change and help your fellow man and help your neighborhood and help your community change, you are the problem too.
No, I get a little excited, like, so I apologize if
it's a passion.
It's a tendency I have, but I come from
you know, I mean, we were born up in the Democrat lifestyle. That passion is still here. Mm-hmm. You know, don't put your hands on. No. But the passion is still there. And when we look at the Republican Party and we look to see where that passion is, we don't see it when it's reaching out to those that really do want change, but they aren't getting it.
Well, actually, I always make sure you have the Rand Pauls who are willing to reach out to the intellectuals in the Black community, so I'll give him that. But you also have one that never gets talked about is Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan has an economic plan and he takes it into the Black communities of Wisconsin. And they don't really talk about it. No Republican gives him fanfare, no conservative brings up the fact that he's doing it. But for the last 2 years, he has made it a point that he is taking his economic vision into urban communities. And the cameras don't show up, and the social media doesn't go wild. But we do have at least two that are making real good exerted efforts to go into the Black community. So I never like to leave those two out when I can acknowledge them for everything that they're doing.
Anybody that will have a question for us? Is that 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Oh, that's all we have left?
Two questions. It's a Q&A.
Okay. All right. So if anybody has any questions, just go to the mic.
There's no mic. We'll pass it. All right, I got that voice.
Okay. And but I would like to say that Andrew Breitbart jumped on my social media Twitter Twitter one night, and it was funny because I had saw Sonnie on C-SPAN. I was like, look at that Black woman up there. Look at that. Because I'd always been told that Republicans were racist. And at the time, I was trying to figure out exactly who I was. Look at that woman up there. And then Andrew Breitbart got up there. He started talking about the election. I was like, wow. Okay. So here I am on Twitter, and I'm fighting a liberal one night. A couple weeks after CPAC, I'm fighting, I'm arguing, going at it and everything, and this guy jumps into my argument and says, hey, I like your fight. And if you need me, I'll be there wherever you need me to be.
And then you get 250 followers.
Oh, I got followers.
Like instantly when Andrew
I got
retweeted you, yeah, you got to follow me.
And when I saw the name, I was like, this is really interesting. So I responded to him, I was like, thank you. And then my chest like, yeah, and let me tell you something else too. A couple weeks after that, he passed. But I never forgot that he took time out to see what I was doing and told me that he liked it and that he would back me. And Sonnie, before I get to the question, Sonnie said something that both of us use in our business. Sonnie has changed ctghq.org, changethegame.org. I have War Media, We Are America Radio, We Are America Media. We don't mind in bringing other voices to the forefront over our voice. We want to pump up more people at more times. As a matter of fact, both of us have gotten fussed at by our second in command because we're not out there in front with more of a spotlight on us. But I've always told people, if my message or the message that I'm pushing gets more ahead of me, then I promise I will sit down. I promise I will go away. So, with that,
You don't have to worry about it. I'm going to keep you on track.
that's right. She got it. She got it.
What have you guys shared?
Hi, my name is Pat Finati. I live in Montgomery County. Thank you both for coming. It was a very good discussion. My issue was I registered for office and I went into a development, Section 8, housing, etc. And I walked up to a couple of people and I said, oh, hi, I'm Pat Finati. I'm a Republican. I'm running for state delegate. And she said to me, one of them said to me, what are you doing here? Politicians never come here. And that just like opened the shade up. I thought we're always down here. But I realized that they are expecting that vote. They think the vote's automatic, and we have to change that. But changing it's going to be hard. We decided to have a meeting down there. We put out 600 flyers, and 3 people showed up. So those are the issues that we deal with, and I'd like to know how to get over them. I think I talked to you before. I started a group called Awaken Montgomery, and we've had 2 meetings, and they were wonderful. We've had Chinese people there, Hispanic, and Black, and white. And we just talk, and it's been really good. And I'd like to see something like that go forward a lot better. So the question is, how do we reach people? I don't know, if I would have to stand on street corners. I actually called churches. And I couldn't get.
No, the first thing you do is just realize where they are. And this is something that's so important. These people have believed for their entire life that the Democratic Party is the party for them. Like you have believed for your entire life that the sky is blue. Now imagine me trying to tell you that the sky is not blue. You have to understand that where we are is not where it would be so nice if we had not been under progressive control for 100 years and we could just go in and talk to people like everybody talks to everybody. The fairy tale utopia, rainbows and unicorns and all of that good stuff. That's not the case. And that's why I do it the way I do. And I'm going to be honest with you. You have to have voices that live in that community. And don't be ashamed of that either. Because I can't necessarily go to the country club and talk about all your issues. Because I'm not a country club girl. If you are not a ghetto person, that's okay. Go and find at least one person in that community that is. And then send that reinforcements. Because you're not going to come in and talk to me about, well, you can talk to me about it, but I'm just talking about it in general. You're not going to come and talk about QE4 or QE3 or QE, and inflation and we don't know what the deficit is. These are not the conversations that need to be had. The conversations that need to be had in our community is that of generational poverty, is that of lack of financial independence. Understanding how taxation, regulation, and crony capitalism stops you from opening businesses. Understand what the progressives have done to the school system, and now even your school district doesn't have control over what's going on teaching your kids. These are the issues that just because the other issues are so big to us, doesn't mean we don't have to bow ourselves to the public that we want to serve. If you want them under your service, then act like a servant and find out what they need, instead of going in telling them what's best for them. And all of that starts is by finding one. Just like you go and you find your precinct leader and you find you this, and find one. And then send that one back in with reinforcement. If you find that one, contact me. I will give that one all the reinforcement they need. I promise you that.
Okay, I come from obviously a different generation. But what is wrong with our country, whites, Caucasians, and the black community? We have broken down the back of the family. And you break down the family, you break down the country. Now, that's number one. Number two, social change. We have turned our cities into plantations because we are paying people to have children. Now, these children are running loose on the streets. They have no fathers because, can't have a man in the house. So those are some things that I think really need to change.
Well, in the 70s, well, I was a little baby in the 70s, but well, I didn't hear that. There was a movie that Hollywood put out in the 70s. How many have seen Claudine? Claudine, Diane Carroll, James Earl Jones. Fabulous soundtrack. People loved it. People loved listening to it. The story was about a young black female that had 6 or 7 kids that fell in love with a trash guy. And the trash guy kept coming by and bringing all this stuff. But the social worker kept popping up, and they had to hide all the stuff. Because if the social worker saw all the stuff that was in the house that the guy was giving her, she would lose all of her government benefits. Now, one of the main track songs of that movie was Mr. Welfare Man, Stay Away From Me. Stay Away From Me, Mr. Welfare Man, by Gladys Knight and the Pips. That's the way things were. This is LBJ's system, the Great Society, and like Dr. King said earlier, go out and see Selma. Go ahead and look at it. But with this system in place, just like the young lady said, and you are young, families are broken. It was a purposeful thing. The government did that. They drove out black men. They drove out white men. They drove out fathers from the house. And they came in the back door with goodies and benefits, and they haven't left. And that's where the problem is. We need to stand up and say, this is what has happened. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fight this. And if you have children, hold them close and teach them how to run a family again.
Yes. We got one last question.
Good afternoon. It was a pleasure listening to the both of you. My name is Teresa Reyes. My husband is from Latin America, he's from El Salvador, and you can see I am an African American. So with us, you get a twofer. I live in Montgomery County, Maryland, and people think perhaps maybe I have a silver spoon in my mouth. But I also own properties in inner city. I get the chance to be up close and personal with Section 8 people. And their biggest issue is we don't have a job, and they're supposed to be getting us jobs, and I tell them, listen, there is no job. You gotta make a job. The ghetto should be the cleanest place on earth. You should be able to paint the houses, clean the street, babysit the children, take children after school. You have to make a job. There is no job. Nobody's going to give you a job. They're not going to give you anything. And they listen to me. I'm going to teach you how to be an entrepreneur like me.
Yes.
I want to show you how to make your own money. I want to show you how to be self-sufficient. I want to show you why I own all these houses. I want to show you why I own a business. I want to show you why I'm a Republican. I'm going to show you what to do. Listen to me. I made it, and I can help you make it too. And I need the help from everybody in this room. And incidentally, I like talk to that.
Amen, 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 amen.
And you know what, too? In closing, I want everybody to listen to what she just said and understand there are a lot more like her.
Yes.
And maybe 5 years ago, we didn't exist, according to the media. But I'm sure you've been watching us come out a whole lot more over the last couple of years. Now, I think we need to join together and knock down some of these walls. We need to knock down some of these walls. We all might be different color right here, but we all bleed red, white, and blue for this country. You know that. Some people don't know it yet, and they have to be reminded, but that's our job. In closing.
Like I said, I do what I do because I believe in a limited and small government. And in order to have a limited and small government, we must have people that are in control of our communities. And it just so happens my community is filled with a lot of black people that love hip hop, and I'm going to introduce them to conservative principles using what they love most. Because that's effective. And I want to be effective, not just right.